Hello, and welcome to this session on optimizing costs and automating Azure Virtual Desktop Management with Nerdio. Today, we'll be talking about Nerdio Manager for Enterprise, which is a modern unified platform for management of cloud VDI, cloud PCs, on-premises VDI, as well as physical endpoints and Windows devices. The goal of Nerdio Manager for Enterprise is to help our customers minimize their costs operating these various technologies, accelerate deployment time, and reduce complexity of ongoing management through automation. Nerdio Manager for Enterprise works with Azure Virtual Desktop. It works with Windows 365 Cloud PCs. It plugs into and manages Azure Stack HCI on-premises HCI clusters, and also integrates with Microsoft Intune to help streamline management of devices as well as applications. Let's start out by talking about the capabilities Nerdio Manager brings to the table with Azure Virtual Desktop, and then we'll talk about Windows 365 and other platforms. So if you think about Azure Virtual Desktop as a set of Microsoft technologies, you'll know that there are four different silos or four different components to Azure Virtual Desktop. There is the client application that Microsoft creates and builds for every modern operating system, such as the mobile operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, as well as the HTML client and Linux client. There is a new version of Windows 10 and Windows 11 that was released with Windows Virtual Desktop when it came out a few years ago that supports multi-session capability, which allows multiple users to share the same session host VM to be able to operate separate sessions of Azure Virtual Desktop. There is the admin experience of AVD, which is what's used to manage AVD, deploy and manage things like images and session hosts and sessions. And then there is a set of hosted services that Microsoft provides to all of the AVD customers, things like gateways and connection brokers, licensing servers, diagnostic services, all of the various things that in the days prior to AVD, admins had to manage on their own. Nerdio Manager is an Azure application that deploys into a customer's own Azure tenant. So it's not a hosted SaaS platform. It's an Azure application consisting of first-party Microsoft Azure PaaS services that deploy into the customer's environment. It plugs into the admin experience of AVD and leaves the client application, the session hosts, and all of the connections, brokers, and gateways completely untouched. So it's a management platform rather than an alternative cloud control plane platform. And what it does is it adds hundreds of features across three main categories. The first one is all about optimizing and reducing costs of Azure Virtual Desktop. And that happens across Azure Compute, Azure Storage, as well as reducing the complexity and increasing IT admin efficiency so things can be done quicker, in a much more easy way, in a much more automated way, which thereby reduces the cost and the overhead involved in managing AVD. The cost savings we're talking about, and we'll look at this in more detail on a subsequent slide, are fairly significant. We don't mean that there is a reduction of 10 or 20% in costs, but what typical customers see is a reduction in costs anywhere from 50 to 75% range on average, and many times even beyond that. And those are only the costs that get reduced from Azure consumption without taking into account the efficiency that is introduced by making admins that manage AVD a lot more efficient. The second category of benefits has to do with just broad, easy to use automation that increases reliability and security of Azure Virtual Desktop managed with Nerdio Manager. And a typical example of this is image management. Image management is a very powerful, but at the same time complex process doing that in Azure using the native tools, having to script things, using the Azure portal, PowerShell, etc. Nerdio Manager provides a complete lifecycle management of images from the creation of an image completely automatically with any applications that may need to be loaded fully automatically through the UI, the ability to deploy that image to initial session hosts within AVD, as well as being able to maintain and update and patch both the operating system as well as the applications that are installed in images, and rolling those images out to session hosts almost non-disruptively to the end users of the AVD platform. And all of this done in an easy point and click fashion, or it can also be done through API and PowerShell that's available with Nerdio Manager as well. So the entire image lifecycle management is built in, super easy and super powerful, prevents organizations from running images that are outdated in terms of their OS patching and other things as far as applications, always running the latest image in a very automated, non-disruptive fashion. Nerdio Manager also adds disaster recovery, which allows customers to spread out their AVD deployment, their session host VMs, across multiple Azure regions. And in case one of the regions becomes unavailable, users can continue working uninterrupted out of the second region. Nerdio Manager handles the distribution of those session hosts, powering them on and off, updating them in a consistent fashion, replicating any profile data that's necessary between the different regions, and really just automating the entire disaster recovery deployment and ongoing management process, allowing for better reliability of the environment. Another example in this category would be Nerdio Manager's self-healing capability. The self-healing capability allows Nerdio Manager to detect any issues that may come up within an AVD environment and proactively fix that problem without the user or the admin having to get involved in any way. So for example, if a VM, a session host VM, becomes unavailable and users can't connect to it, Nerdio Manager could quickly assess what the problem is and can take steps to remediate or fix that problem. For instance, it can automatically restart the AVD agent running on that VM. And if that doesn't fix the problem, it can reboot the VM. After that, it can reinstall the AVD agent if necessary, pulling the latest version from the Microsoft repository. And finally, if none of those things fix the problem, it can actually rebuild the VM by deleting and recreating from the image with all of the applications and all of the needed customizations. So without any admin involvement, that remediation can happen completely automatically without any user impact. And then there could be a report or notification sent to the admin letting them know that the remediation or recovery set of actions have taken place. There are many other such features. As I mentioned, there's really hundreds of features that Nerdio Manager adds on top of AVD to extend it with very scalable enterprise functionality. And now let's move on to the third category, which is really all about simplifying and automating the ongoing management of AVD. And this includes both the initial deployment of AVD as well as the ongoing management of all the Azure components that AVD relies on. This includes Azure Compute, Azure Storage, Log Analytics, FS Logics, the Azure Active Directory, and every single component that AVD relies on to operate consistently. Nerdio Manager brings into a single, easy-to-use management UI and unifies the management of all the Azure components together with management of Windows 365, physical devices, and cloud PCs. And finally, Nerdio Manager handles management of applications. This includes deployment of applications from various sources, whether these are config manager repositories, Winget or package manager, Intune repositories. It overlays on top of the various application repositories and can deploy applications to images, directly to session hosts, to personal desktops, and keep those applications updated and always up to date and installed as needed based on the defined policies. So with all of these enhancements to AVD, it becomes more cost effective and more secure and reliable due to automations. In addition to AVD, Nerdio Manager helps with cloud PCs or Windows 365. And the value the Nerdio Manager adds with Windows 365 really breaks down into two categories. One are the day one operations, which means just getting the environment stood up and deployed. And the second category are the day two or the ongoing operations. From a day one operations perspective, Nerdio Manager allows customers who may already be using AVD and have made investments into image configuration or scripted actions and things like that to leverage all of those existing components to stand up a cloud PC environment very quickly and easily using a wizard and using the existing resources that they've already created within their environment. Or even if they're standing up a brand new environment, that can be done very easily through Nerdio Manager as well. During day one operations or the deployment process, applications can be delivered to cloud PCs automatically, as well as some of the migration processes of going from personal AVD desktops to cloud PCs can be automated too. The second set of capabilities are the day two operations. This is the ongoing management and capabilities of Nerdio Manager for Windows 365 Cloud PC customers. This includes the dynamic delivery of applications. As I mentioned earlier, there is a unified app catalog that overlays all the various app repositories, and using policies can continually update and deploy applications, even if users switch their device, whether from Cloud PC to AVD, AVD to Cloud PC, or even to physical devices. There's also monitoring and troubleshooting capabilities across applications, compliance, updates, and security of the cloud PCs, as well as that unified endpoint management experience of bringing together cloud PC devices, AVD session hosts and personal desktops, and even physical devices into the same management UI. So this was just our brief overview of what Nerdio Manager is capable of and the benefits that it provides across AVD, cloud PCs, Intune, and application management. I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to seeing you at Ignite.